Let's come back to our bodhicitta motivation. And again, we're here so that we can learn the Dharma, generate the realizations in our mind, transforming our mind, so that we can become fully awakened Buddhas for the benefit of all. And to learn how to transform our minds, we need to learn the 8 verses of thought training. Okay. So there's something else I wanted to comment on about in verse 4, about the person of bad nature who's overwhelmed by negative energy and intense suffering. I will hold such a rare one dear as if I had found a precious treasure. This is referring principally to our attitude in our mind of holding them dear as a precious treasure. It does not mean that we do everything they want. In none of these verses, or in the teachings on love and compassion in general, do love and compassion mean we do everything somebody wants us to do. Okay, this is quite important, because otherwise it's very easy for us to lose our wisdom and get into what is called idiot compassion. Okay. So I have a family member who has a gambling problem, who's always getting into trouble, always getting into debt. I really love him. I don't want him to, have the debt collector coming after him, but he keeps on racking up these gambling debts. And so I pay off his debts for him. Then he racks up more gambling debts, and I pay those. And again, it happens, okay? So in something like that, yeah, this person has, they may have good energy, they may have negative energy, but being kind and compassionate to them does not mean that you keep paying off their gambling debts. Because as long as you keep paying the debts, they're going to keep gambling. Yeah. Now, you might say, but if I don't pay the debts, the collections people are going to come, and he's going to get in trouble. Well, yes, and that's his responsibility. And perhaps he will learn from having difficulties. But as long as you keep bailing him out, thinking that's compassion, you're actually enabling his bad habit, enabling the gambling. Okay? So being compassionate doesn't mean you just give people whatever they want and go along with everything. You can still, you know what you can do, you know what you can't do, you make that clear to the person. Okay? So, because it's so easy, sometimes people feel very guilty, like, but it's my relative, Well, yes, you have love and compassion for them. But that doesn't mean you get involved in what we call codependent behavior, where you just cave in to every foolish thing they want you to do. That's not helping them at all. Yeah, and I know it's hard sometimes if you care for somebody very much, to watch them, hit bottom when, their bad habit catches up with them. But sometimes it's only when people hit bottom that they realize they have to change. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I do a lot of work with people in prison, and a lot of the people in prison are there because of crimes they committed under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And they all tell me that until they hit rock bottom, they don't have any real inspiration to overcome their substance abuse problem. Yeah? And as long as somebody gives them money, they'll keep drinking and drugging. If the family says, no, we're not going to support that, you know, you're responsible for your own behavior, then that often wakes the person up to the point where they realize they have to change. Okay, so this is really quite important. One young man told me that when he was a teenager, he was always getting, you know, quite frequently got into mischief and would get arrested by the police, you know, taken to court, and then his mother would come and bail him out and say, Judge, this is my son, he's really a good boy, don't put him in prison, I'll take care of him, da-da-da-da-da. The judge would release him, and he would go back to, you know, the things he was doing before. So this happened many times, and one time, you know, he was before the judge, his mother was there, and the mother said to the judge, you know, I can't handle him anymore. He doesn't listen to me. I keep bailing him out. He doesn't improve. You keep him. Yeah? You know, she said, I can't handle him anymore. You keep him. And the boy told me that he was so shocked that it really made him stop and think about what he's been doing in his life. Because until then, Mom always came and rescued him. And it was only when Mom said no that he started to realize, oh, I'm responsible. Yeah, if the judge holds me and I'm in prison for a while, that is my doing. And if I don't like this situation, I have to change my behavior. Okay, so I think I really applaud what the mother did. It must have been very, very hard for her. But she knew she couldn't control him. Okay, so just, you know, with any of these verses, you know, you can have love and compassion and still say no. Because sometimes saying no is the most compassionate thing you can do for somebody. Okay, so you have to discern situations. When is saying yes and helping real kindness? When is saying no and letting them bear the responsibility of their own actions, the real kindness? Verse 5. When others out of jealousy mistreat me with abuse, slander, and so on, I will practice accepting defeat and offering the victory to them. So this is another one where we say, oh, come on, I couldn't really do this. Somebody who's jealous of me, who abuses me, who slanders me, who ruins my reputation, I'm supposed to practice defeat and offer the victory to them? Are you kidding? Yeah. So we have to understand what offer the victory means. Okay? Just a minute. Okay, so somebody, whether they mistreat me or abuse me out of jealousy or any other motivation, the thing is the same. Yeah. Practice defeat and offering the victory to them. It doesn't mean that we let them have their way all the time. It doesn't mean, you know, you abused me yesterday, you can abuse me again today, that's fine. Okay? But what this means is when because some of us have the thing of, I've always got to win the argument. Yeah, whatever is going on, I've got to have the last word. Any of you like that? There's a discussion in the family, there's an argument. Yeah, you have to have the last word and win. Even if you're wrong. Yeah, and you see people like this. Even, they give a false argument or they have the wrong information. They're very arrogant and they have to win the argument and have the other person capitulate. So it means in these kind of situations, when we're with somebody like that, let them do their thing. You don't need to compete with them, and you have the last argument, or you have the last word. Okay? So maybe you're the one who always has to win the conversation, and here you just don't. You realize that a lot of these things that we quarrel about really are not very important. I had a friend who was having some marital problems with her husband. He was one of these people who always had to have the last word whenever there was a discussion. And of course, that was like really, it didn't work very well because often she had legitimate concerns and needs, and he needed to listen and respond, in an appropriate way instead of always saying, I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to talk until you are quiet. That doesn't work in a marriage. So they went to counseling, and he started to do this in the counseling session. He was going to win that and have the last word. And the counselor interrupted and said to the husband, you could win the argument or you could have a loving relationship with your wife. It's your choice which one you want. Because the counselor could see, this behavior was, they weren't going to be able to stay together if he continued that behavior. And that really stopped him and made him think, what is more important to me? Winning the argument, even when I'm wrong, making somebody back down, not listening to them, or having a loving relationship with this person. He decided that he treasured his wife and he was going to change. But it took, the therapist intervening. So if we're that kind of person who always likes to win or be right even when we're wrong, look at how it adversely affects your relationships and learn to listen. Learn that you can give the victory to others. And in many situations, it's not even the victory. You don't even have to put the whole situation in the context of win or lose. Because many discussions are not a thing of if they win, I lose. Many discussions are if we can, listen to each other and hear each other and come up with some resolution where both of our needs get met to some extent, then it's a win-win situation. We both win. Okay, verse 6. When someone I have benefited and in whom I have placed great trust hurts me very badly, I will practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher. Okay, this is another one where we go, you gotta be kidding. Okay? So let's think of the wife of the man that your friend is in love with, okay? And she's thinking, I've benefited this person, I've placed great trust in him, and now he's cheating on me. How does the wife feel? Hurt. Her trust has been betrayed. She thought her husband was one way, and he turns out to be very different than what she thought he was like. Yeah. So what does she do? How does she get over this hurt? Does she just stay, hurt and angry with him her whole entire life? That's no fun. Yeah, to stay hurt and angry with somebody your whole life. Who wants to live your life like that? Yeah. So I will practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher. So what's this husband teaching her? Forgiveness. Well, maybe she decides not to give him a second chance. It's her choice. She can still see him as a supreme teacher and say enough is enough. Yeah, she doesn't have... Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to take the guy back. Okay? You can say, this is we made a promise to each other, you betrayed the promise. I have a hard time respecting somebody who doesn't keep their promises. Yeah. So how you deal with the situation is one thing. How you feel inside is another thing. Okay? So she may say, forget it. Yeah, we're done. Or she may say, I care about you, let's try it again, but we're going to have to go very slowly because we need to build up trust, because after your behavior, I have a hard time trusting and respecting you. And then to try it again and see if it works. So, it's her responsibility. I mean, it's her choice of how she handles it. But regardless of what she chooses to do, this is talking about what she feels inside. Yeah, because she feels betrayed. Yeah, she feels hurt. Yeah, so seeing that person as a supreme teacher, what, could he be teaching her? Well, one thing is that maybe she had a lot of unrealistic expectations. Yeah? Maybe she didn't get to know him so well and had many unrealistic expectations. Or maybe she knew before they were married that he sometimes lied, but she thought to herself, oh, he loves me too much, he'll never lie to me. So in that way, she gave him more trust than he could bear. She had an expectation of him that was unrealistic. So lots of times, it's not until we get hurt that we realize, oh, I gave somebody too much trust. I should have gone more slowly, gotten to know them, watched for those red flags when they came up. Yeah, really discuss things with this person in more depth to clarify the expectations that I have of him and the expectations he has of me. Yeah, okay? So if she looks at the situation that way, then she doesn't need to remain hurt from it and just blame him. Oh, it's all his fault. He did this and this and this and this and this. But to say, my mistake was I gave him more trust than he was able to bear, and I did that because maybe I ignored some red flags, some behavior that he was showing, but I ignored it. Or maybe I didn't clarify with him, what the expectations are when we're married. But now I'm learning that I have to do that. Yeah? Or I have to get to know somebody more and go through it more slowly so I can really see if they can bear the trust that I give them. Okay? So she could look at it in that way and say, oh, this is a situation I can learn a lot from, and in that way improve my own situation. And I don't need to just always blame him and feel hurt about what happens. If I learn something from the situation, then I can change. And if I change, my relationship with him is going to change. And my relationship with other people will change too. Okay, does that make some sense to you? Hmm? Okay, 7. In short, I will offer directly and indirectly every benefit and happiness to all beings, my mothers. I will practice in secret, taking upon myself all their harmful actions and sufferings. So this verse is about the taking and giving meditation, which we don't have a long time to talk about it now. If you have the book Transforming Adversity into Joy and Courage, in chapter 11, Khyentse Jampa Tekchop gives a beautiful description of this meditation. But the essentials of this meditation are when others are suffering, with compassion, we think, I will take their suffering from them. And we even imagine taking their suffering and freeing them from suffering, with having very strong compassion ourselves. And then we give them our happiness so that they will have the happiness that they want. Okay? So it says, when it says I will offer directly and indirectly every benefit and happiness to all beings, my mothers, directly helping them is when you're able to do something. Indirectly helping them is when you can't do anything physically, or in the world to affect it, but mentally you stay connected by having a heart of love, and you imagine transforming your body, possessions, and merit into whatever it is they need and sending it out to them. And imagine other beings receiving it and, feeling satisfied. And then in the last 2 lines where it says, I will practice in secret, taking upon myself all their harmful actions and sufferings, then that means that with compassion, you imagine taking on their suffering, and bearing it yourself so that they will be free of it. Of course, we can't really take on other people's suffering. Everybody experiences the result of their own karma. But it's very helpful in our mind to generate so much compassion that we think, if I could take their suffering and bear it, I would. And then we imagine their suffering leaving them. And with compassion, we take it into ourselves, but it comes in the form, it leaves them in the form of pollution. It transforms into a thunderbolt that strikes at the lump of our own self-centeredness at our heart. Yeah. And then that our own self-centeredness is demolished, and there's open space in our heart. And within that open space, we imagine transforming our body, possessions, and merit into whatever others need, and giving it to them with an attitude of love. So this meditation is done just by visualizing, but it's very, very strong for generating compassion and love for others, and for staying connected with other people that we care about, even if we can't help them directly. Okay? So the example before of this relative with the gambling problem, you might have to say to him, I'm not bailing you out. You're responsible for your debt. But on a mental level, with compassion, you can imagine taking his gambling a problem away from him, using it to destroy your own self-centeredness, and then imagine, only in imagination, giving him whatever he needs so that he realizes that gambling is a dead-end avenue, and he's able to quit and stop his gambling problem. Okay? So you take what others don't want, their suffering, use it to destroy what you don't want, your own self-centeredness. And then without attachment to your own body, possessions, and merit, you give them to the other person, imagining that it, gives them the happiness that they need. And in the case of this relative with a gambling problem, the happiness he needs is freedom from the problem. It's not more money. So you imagine giving him all the help he needs so that he can stop this problem. Okay? Then, 8th verse. Without these practices being defiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, I will practice without grasping to release all beings from the bondage of the disturbing, unsubdued mind and karma. Okay, so when it says without these practices being defiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, it means without looking for any happiness in this life from doing these problems, from doing these practices, giving up our own attachment and aversion in this life, and just doing the practices for the sake of the Dharma, for the sake of benefiting others. By perceiving all phenomena as illusory means knowing that things don't have any inherent essence. They are not objective. They exist dependent on each other. And then I will practice without grasping, so without grasping at inherent existence and without unrealistic expectations, I will practice to release all beings from the bondage of the disturbing, unsubdued mind and karma. In other words, I will become a fully awakened Buddha so that I can have all the ability to lead others on the path and in that way release them from their afflictions and their polluted karma. Okay? Then I'm just going to read the first verse over again. We have this custom of starting over again when you finish a text and leaving it incomplete again, meaning that we have to meet again so we can finish the teaching again. So with the thought of attaining awakening for the welfare of all beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling tool, I will constantly practice holding them dear.